2024 is going to continue to be one of the toughest years ever. We know this because we currently have a war between Russia and Ukraine. The United States is attempting to pass funding for Ukraine, but there's not enough support there. We also have a war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, which the United States is attempting to pass additional funding for Israel and Gaza. We also have a conflict between China and Taiwan, which the United States is going to back Taiwan to its fullest. We also have an issue in the Red Sea. But this is also a cause for concern because the United States has these rising tensions between Iran and Iranian-backed groups as well. But the concern right now is the American people. What is Congress going to do? What is the Biden administration going to do in order to provide additional benefits and relief for the American people? Over 300 million people are currently waiting. They want to see, what is the Biden administration going to do? Over 60 million people are currently waiting, trying to figure out if Social Security is still going to be there in the next handful of years. Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. Right now, one of the main concerns that millions and millions of people that are having at this time is, are we even going to have a paycheck in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, let's get right down to it because, again, 2024 is going to be the toughest year ever, at least according to experts. So we'll break that down in just a moment. All I ask for is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So one of the big issues that we are facing and have been facing over the past handful of years, but yet nobody has done anything about it, is Social Security. Many people are asking, are we going to see a Social Security reform bill anytime soon? Well, the answer is no. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but Social Security and the Social Security insolvency, this is not a problem for Congress at this time, because the majority of Americans are concerned with the mass influx of illegal immigrants into the U.S., taking our benefits, taking our resources, depleting our resources. Well, look at this. I want to show you this. It says bipartisan lawmakers urge colleagues to back bill combining Ukraine aid and border security. There's nothing in there for Social Security. They're talking about Ukraine funding, which is to the tune of about $60 billion, and border security, which they're only going to pass about $20 billion in funding. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. Right now, they also have to pass a government funding bill, and says the government funding bills not home runs, according to the Speaker Johnson. Says, but includes GOP policies. Now, that was something that they just addressed the other day. This has to be passed by March. We're getting very close. This is a concern, is that we do not have enough time to pass a government funding bill and include other GOP policies. What we do know is that they're looking at legislation to the tune of about $1.7 trillion that they plan on passing in the next week. Okay? But then again, this has to be done, I believe, by March 2nd. So this is all coming to pretty much to the wire. But I want to show you something else. Because one of the things that Democrats continue to ask for is for more funding. They want additional funding so that they can push it into the right places, so that they can fund their priorities and Republican priorities as well. Well, Republicans have asked for to go and pull back money that was previously allocated to other priorities that has yet to be spent. We've already done it with the IRS funding of about $80 billion. Now, it wasn't all $80 billion. I think it was like $10 billion, but they started to pull money back and reallocate the funding. Well, they were also looking at COVID funding as well. Look at this. It says that Dem states and cities overrun by migrants funneled millions in federal COVID aid to support illegals. This has happened over the past couple of years, where these states and cities didn't have the funding needed in order to build welcome centers, in order to erect additional shelters, provide additional food banks, right? All those things. But they found the money. They found a way to do it. Look at this. Washington State, for example, diverted $340 million in federal COVID funds to migrants. That was not what the money was used for. The money, or that wasn't what it was allocated for. But you spin your words a little bit, you try to, make it seem like, this makes sense, and the federal government will jump all over it. That's part of the problem, because now Republicans are saying that, well, why are you asking for more funding when the funding we've given you for COVID, you went and reallocated that to these migrant shelters anyway? So Republicans don't want to give us any more money. But what does this have to do with Social Security? What does this have to do with, these millions and millions of Americans asking for additional help? Well, they don't want to give us any additional help. Not because we don't deserve it, but because as soon as some lawmakers see that there's money in there, there's money that can be accessed, they're going to do whatever they can to go and pull it so that they can use it for their own agenda. We see this all the time. Let me show you this article. It says Social Security beneficiaries may owe more taxes on their benefits in 2023. How Congress should change that. Well, it says right there, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have proposals to eliminate those tax levels. Here's the thing. The majority of states, they do not want to go and change your tax benefits. They want to tax you on your Social Security benefits because that's additional income that they receive. Additional tax revenue that the state receives that it can then go and use for whatever it wants. It can go and allocate that money the way it sees fit, not the way you see fit. That's the big change. One thing I can tell you is that West Virginia, their House did pass a Social Security tax phase out, and the taxes on Social Security benefits would be completely phased out by 2026. However, that has not yet been passed in its entirety. It's just been passed by the House. So here's what I can tell you. If you're waiting around for Social Security benefits to come out and increase, it's probably not going to happen. You're going to see a cost of living adjustment. That will be about it. We're not going to see a large increase in benefits. We're not going to see a big change to taxes. We are going to see things pretty much go as is for the next year or 2 years. Here's the reason why I bring this up. A lot of people have been asking, are we going to see a change to Social Security? Should people on a fixed income be concerned? The answer is yes. You should be concerned. Are we going to see a big change to Social Security? At this time, no. Because lawmakers do not have the support to even fund the U.S. government, to pass any legislation to Ukraine, to Israel, to Taiwan, to the Indo-Pacific, to pass additional funding and how much funding to the U.S. southern border. There's a lot of issues here. But what we continue to hear is if we do not get some of these issues resolved soon, nothing will be done. But here's the thing. According to multiple reports, Republicans do not want to give Democrats a win this close to the presidential election, which is happening on November 5th. Democrats at the same time have said the exact same thing, that they do not want to give Republicans a win. And so why would they go and provide additional security at the U.S. southern border? This is one of the reasons why President Biden is looking at an executive action, because this would then show that it's not Republicans that are getting this. President Biden is the one that is providing this additional security to us here in the U.S. Again, it all comes down to this next election. Republicans know, as of right now, there is not going to be enough votes for President Biden to win the next election. There will not be enough votes in the Senate for Democrats to keep the majority in the Senate. And there'll be not enough votes for Democrats for the House of Representatives to gain the majority back in the House. That's what Republicans are seeing. So Democrats at this time are pretty much up against the wall and have to do whatever they can to try to win some votes. That's what we're going to see moving forward. All I can tell you right now, I will be here every step of the way. I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.